So there's this thing among Japanese Famicom collectors. A major hurdle that has to be crossed for anyone who wants to collect a complete set of Famicom games. And that is the dreaded Wall of Go games. A very expensive, very hard to find set of games that nobody will ever want to play. And they're not talking about games like Igo Kyu Roban Taikyoku, where you actually play the game of Go. This wall is all about the Shinan series. It's a set of 8 games, not all about Go, and not all of which have Shinan in the title. The games were published by Hecht, and so their availability ranges from kind of difficult to get to 3 of the rarest games on the system. For 2 of them, I once saw them for sale. Once. And another counts itself among the most expensive games on the Famicom. And on top of that, there's nothing to these things. My explanation of what this series is, and what Go is, will take much longer than explaining what the contents of the cartridge are. If you needed another example of why collecting a full set of Famicom games was a terrible idea, well, here you go.囲碁Shinan is all about the board game that we call Go. It's an ancient board game whose rules have been very consistent for the past 3,000 years, only with a few tweaks to reduce the first player advantage. In Go, players take turns putting stones at the intersection of a 19 by 19 grid. The goal is to surround territory with stones of your color. Stones that become completely enclosed by the other player's color are taken off the board, and play ends when both players pass, usually because there's no move that will not lose them points. Your score is the territory that you surround, minus the number of stones that you've had captured, and then a tiny adjustment for the second player. While Go has a very simple rule set, the game becomes very complex from the sheer quantity of potential moves. And as a result, it was a very long time before an AI could reasonably take on a human player.囲碁Shinan gets around this by having no AI. This is really a catalog of Go games, some by famous players, a few are example games between a teacher and a student, and you have 2 options. You can watch the game play out in full automatically, or you can pick a side and after every turn you're quizzed on which move you should make. There's 3 different options for the quizzing. You could be asked to pick between 2 moves, 4 moves, or any square on the board. At the end of watching a game play out with the quiz, you're scored on your performance. There are 63 games on the cart, divided up evenly between classic, modern, and handicapped games, with the handicapped games being the demonstration ones. And that's everything there is to囲碁Shinan. As somebody who enjoys Go, I actually don't think this series is that bad. Trying to work out what a grandmaster played helps me think a bit about Go strategy. But it is a very tiny group of people who would get even that much enjoyment out of this. And we have a lot of Shinan to go.